the gentle protector of the forest, forced a human father to slit his own daughter's throat just to pay for a dead deer. When mortals paint the gods, they often soften their edges. They paint Artemis as the maiden of the silver bow, the virgin goddess who dances with nymphs in sunlit glades, petting fawns and protecting the innocent creatures of the earth. It is a beautiful, comforting lie. The forest is not a place of comfort. It is a slaughterhouse of survival. And Artemis is not its gentle caretaker. She is its undisputed apex predator. In her realm, there is no negotiation. There is no mercy, no trial, and absolutely no forgiveness. There is only the hunter and the prey. To follow her is to surrender your autonomy. To cross her is to invite a gruesome, agonizing end. Artemis represents the terrifying purity of the wild, a pristine, untouched law that demands absolute submission. And the punishments she exacts upon those who violate her sacred laws are some of the most horrific body horror nightmares ever recorded in the ancient world. To witness the horrifying extreme of her laws, we look to the tragic fate of Actaeon. He was not a villain. He was a master hunter, a prince of Thebes who simply took a wrong turn in the deep woods of Mount Cithaeron. Stumbling upon a hidden sacred spring, he accidentally laid eyes upon the naked form of the virgin goddess as she bathed. A brief, accidental glance. But in the eyes of the apex predator, ignorance is not an excuse. It is a trespassing of the highest order. Artemis did not reach for her arrows. A quick death by piercing silver was a mercy reserved for beasts, not for mortals who defiled her purity. She splashed the spring water into Actaeon's face. Instantly, the terrifying curse took hold. His human skin bubbled and hardened into thick fur. His hands twisted into hardened hooves. A heavy, branched crown of antlers ripped through the skull of his head. Actaeon was transformed into a stag, but Artemis was infinitely cruel. She changed his body, but she intentionally left his human mind completely intact. Actaeon was trapped inside the cage of an animal, possessing full cognitive awareness of the nightmare he had become. He tried to scream, to beg for forgiveness, but only the bleeding cry of a deer escaped his throat. And then, the goddess unleashed the true horror. Actaeon's own hunting dogs, 50 loyal hounds he had raised, fed, and named, caught the scent of the stag. Driven into a supernatural frenzy by the goddess, the dogs did not recognize their master. Actaeon fled through the forest, his human mind paralyzed with betrayal and terror, until his own pets tackled him to the ground. Artemis stood on a silent peak, watching without a single ounce of pity as Actaeon was ripped to shreds and eaten alive by his very best friends. If Actaeon's death was a matter of trespassing, the tragedy of Callisto exposes the chilling lack of empathy in the goddess of purity. Callisto was a nymph, one of Artemis's most favored companions. To run with the huntress, every maiden was required to take an absolute, unbreakable vow of eternal chastity, a vow to renounce the company of men forever. But the gods of Olympus respect no vows. Zeus, the king of the gods, became obsessed with Callisto's beauty. Knowing she would run from a man, he transformed himself to look exactly like Artemis. Deceived and overpowered, Callisto was brutally assaulted by the king of the gods. She was a victim, traumatized and secretly carrying a child she never asked for. She hid her pregnancy, terrified of her mistress's reaction. When Artemis finally discovered the swollen belly of her companion during a bath in the river, there was no compassion. There was no investigation into the assault. To the apex predator, the circumstances of the violation were completely irrelevant. The vow was broken, The purity of the pack was tainted. In a horrifying display of victim-blaming, Artemis banished the weeping nymph from her inner circle, stripping away all protection. But banishment was not enough for the gods. Hera, the jealous wife of Zeus, descended and finished the punishment Artemis had started. She cursed Callisto, warping her beautiful human body into a monstrous, lumbering bear. The victim of the supreme god was stripped of her voice, forced to wander the dark woods in constant terror, knowing that one day she would inevitably be hunted by the very sisters she once loved. Artemis's domain was not confined to the forests. Her authority could cripple empires. Before the great Trojan War, King Agamemnon commanded the mightiest fleet ever assembled by mankind. But in a moment of monumental arrogance, he shot a sacred deer in Artemis's grove and boasted that he was a better archer than the goddess herself. The response was immediate and devastating. Artemis killed the wind. The ocean turned to glass. The entire Greek army was trapped on the shores of Aulis, starved and plagued by disease, unable to sail to Troy. When the king consulted a prophet, the divine ransom demanded by Artemis sent a shockwave of horror through the camp. To pay for the life of one single animal, the goddess of the hunt demanded the ultimate human sacrifice. Agamemnon had to slit the throat of his own eldest daughter, the innocent princess Iphigenia. To fulfill the gruesome ransom, Agamemnon lied to his wife and daughter, luring Iphigenia to the camp under the false promise of marriage to the great hero Achilles. Instead of a wedding altar, she found a sacrificial stone. Surrounded by thousands of silent, heavily armed men, the innocent girl was bound. To satisfy the wrath of the nature goddess, a father raised a rusted blade and sacrificed his own flesh and blood. Mortal lives were simply currency to the apex predator. Yet beneath the impenetrable armor of the huntress, there was a singular, tragic flaw. A single moment where the apex predator allowed herself to feel. His name was Orion, a giant hunter, a man of the earth who matched her wildness step for step. For the first and only time in eternal history, Artemis considered renouncing her vow of chastity. She found an equal. But Apollo, the god of light, found this unacceptable. Disgusted that his sister would compromise her divine purity for a mortal, he engineered a cruel deception. One dark, stormy evening, Orion was swimming far out in the treacherous sea, his head appearing as nothing more than a tiny dark speck among the crashing waves. Apollo challenged Artemis to a test of skill, daring her to hit the distant, bobbing target in the black water. Never one to refuse a challenge, the flawless archer raised her silver bow. Her aim was absolute. The arrow pierced the dark void, burying itself perfectly into the distant speck. It was only when the tides washed the massive, bleeding corpse onto the shore that the huntress realized what she had done. Her brother had tricked her into executing the only man she had ever loved. She took his soul and placed it in the stars, creating the constellation Orion. But the damage to her psyche was irreversible. In that moment of absolute devastation, whatever warmth remained in the goddess of the wild was permanently extinguished. Her heart froze into solid ice. She became the cold, untouchable maiden of the moon, an apex predator forever locked in the dark. She transforms trespassers into prey, casts out victims of assault to preserve her purity, and demands the blood of children to satisfy her ego. This is the uncompromising law of the wild. When Artemis punished Callisto for being assaulted, was she merely a ruthless victim blamer, or was she simply acting as an impartial force of nature where laws can never be bent? Defend your psychological stance in the pinned comment below. The Dark Mythology universe continues, and you hold the compass. Cast your vote. Should our next deep dive be the twisted, terrifying birth of Aphrodite, or the cataclysmic wrath of Poseidon? Type your choice below. And for the master hunters among you, did you spot the bloody dog collar of Actaeon's hound hidden in the shadows of a human sacrifice? Tell me the exact timestamp if you dare. Subscribe, respect the forest, and never let them see you bleed.